Hi everybody, and welcome to the video for part one of Flora's Fauna. If you want a little bit more information about why it's called Flora's Fauna, and also little hints and tips about how to sort of read the charts and my new sort of universal terms in my written pattern, just take a little look at the extra introductory little video I did as well. But anyway, to get started, I'm actually going to be doing the forest colorway for my video here today. So my color one, C1, is khaki here, and then I've got lovely bright pistachio for my contrast for my C2. Okay, so what we want to do is we start with a chain, as always. You will want a chain if you're going to be using my nice new super duper easy chain start video border method. You will need to start with a row of chains rather than the chainless foundation double crochets. So when I start with a chain, you probably know I don't bother with a slip knot on my hook. I just twist the yarn around like so. So got loose end here, the rest of it there, just twist it round and then start making the chain. And then what you do, you just make sure on that first chain you don't pull that tight. You leave it as a nice open knot because we're going to be working our last stitch into that. If you prefer to do a slip knot, it's not a problem at all. I say that's how I do it. So 2, 3, 4. So what you will notice on the pattern is that the pattern is written for two sizes, the small blanket or the large blanket. So what you'll see for the small blanket, it's like in the written pattern, the number of chains you need is just written in plain black, and then in the brackets in green you've got for the large. It's easy enough because we don't really need to repeat the stitch count every time because this is entirely overlay mosaic. We're going to have exactly the same stitch count for every row. Okay, so just carry on making your chain until you've got the required number. So for the small blanket, which is what I'm making here, I'm going to need 150 chains. Okay, so just carry on like so. Okay, so I've checked that I've got the right number of stitches, which for me doing the small blanket is 150, sorry, not stitches, chains. So I've got my 150 chains, and I've got my hook that I'm happy with from after doing my swatch. So for me it's a 3.75 mil, but it'll be somewhere around about that, whatever one you want to use that goes with your yarn. Okay, so now what we need to do is say we're working into the chains, but not into the front bit here like you usually would probably. We're actually going to just flip it over and work into these, if you can see these little sort of lines, bumps on the back, that sort of bar. Working into that because what we need is to leave both of these, if you can see what that will do, is leave both of these loops free, which we're going to need when we come to make the border. So it's really, really easy to do my new chain start border, but you do need to start it with a row of chains, not the foundation double crochet. Okay, so we're going to leave this first chain because that's just basically a turning chain. This is the only time in the whole blanket that you're actually going to have a turning chain, because on all the other rows we're going to be using our scissors to cut the yarn at the end. So we're going to do start, so just turn that chain around and say miss this first stitch, so we're going to start with our first double crochet into that back bump there like so. Okay, and now what we're going to do at the end of every single row, we're not now going to work straight into the next chain. I'm going to do a chain, miss this chain, and then work into the next one. So we're now going to carry along, always working into this back bump, working our double crochets into every chain until we get to the last two chains. Okay, and when you get there, I'll explain what we do next. Okay, so just work your foundation row into the back bump of all of the chains. Okay, so I've now got my last 2 chains, and what you probably notice, I don't know if you can there, that I have actually, just so I can double check I've got the right number of stitches on my foundation row, I have just popped a little marker into every 50th chain. So there's one there, and there's one there. So that means what I should now have is 147 stitches, which does include this first chain. So normally in my patterns I don't include any chains in my stitch counts, but for the purpose of this, as we are going to be using that at the end to work into, I'm just going to include it. Okay, it just makes it easier. Okay, so we've got 147 stitches so far, so I now just need to finish off this end the same as we started. So we're going to do a chain, miss this second from last chain here, and then we're just going to work our final double crochet into that. There we go, that sort of the first chain, which was that sort of open knot at the beginning. We can now just pull that tight. Okay, right, so that's the foundation row done. Now foundation row, I guess, is kind of optional really. I like to have the extra sort of row in the same colour at the start and end. I guess it started really when I was doing my previous border method, where you would be working around those stitches, but I've still left it in, so it's up to you. If you want to keep that a little bit narrower in your colour one at the start and the beginning, this could actually now be row 1 that we've just done, but I call it the foundation row. Anyway, so we now got to fasten off. So to do that, you basically, if you work a chain like that, pull it to, make sure you do leave yourself enough, because you're gonna really want to knot these off at the end, just to make doubly sure that everything's okay. So make it about sort of 10 centimeters, 4 inches long. If you're going to be making an actual fringe, then you'll want it a bit longer than that. Then we'll cut it off, pull the end out, and there we go. We can just tighten that up. So that is that first row, or the foundation row in my case, now done. Okay, so as that was the foundation row, we're going to now actually, it's only right at the beginning, right at the end, that we're going to be doing 2 rows together in the same colour. I'm now going to be picking up my colour one again, ready to start row 1. Okay, so just before we start part 1, I just want to show you why we worked in at the back of the chain. There we go. So you can see you've now got 2 loops at the bottom there as well. So there they are at the top. So we've got the 2 loops there that we can use at the top when we're making the stitches, but when we come to do our border, we're going to need the 2 loops there, so we can work into each of them for the front and the back border. Right, okay, so make sure you are actually at the right end of your chain. You'll know, if you did like I did there, where we just had that turning chain, you'll know you want to start when you've got the there's no loose ends, and also make sure it looks like that. So when you hold it up, you can actually see the top loops are just tilted slightly towards you. If you got it the wrong way up, it's going to look like that, which is slightly different. You can see, yeah. So that's the back. Stitches look different. You haven't got that top row of loops visible when you hold it flat. Okay, so that's where we're now going to start, and we start every row now with a slip knot on our hook. Now I'm not very good with an actual slip knot, so what I tend to do is basically a chain. So if you remember how I started the chain for our foundation here, just twisted that yarn around and then pulled a loop through, and this time I'm going to pull it tight. So that works like a slip knot for me. That's how I start mine anyway. Okay, so once you've got a loop on your hook nice and securely, again, like I said, make sure you've got your chain the right way around, and then we're going to always start with this. It's going to be a standing double crochet into these, under both loops at the end. So the first and last stitches of every row is just a standard double crochet through both loops. And so for a standing one, you just have your loop on your hook, pull another one through, yarn over, pull through 2. So there we go, that's how we're now starting the row. And then again, what we're going to have on every row is, as I said when we started, we have a chain. So we're going to miss this chain here. And now what we're going to do, this is a nice easy row. When you're setting up your overlay mosaic crochet, you're just going to be basically doing a row of double crochets, but this time for all of these we're going to be working into just this back loop. Okay, so just there, so don't work under both like so, because we're going to need, we may need these front loops when we're making the pattern. So there we go, got a chain, I'm missing that chain, I'm going to pop into just that back loop there, do my double crochet there. So for this row we're going to do that all the way along. So that's what I call a back loop double crochet. So it's a double crochet into the back loop only, and you can see hopefully that's now leaving these front loops free. So we're going to do that all the way along, and if you're looking at the written pattern you'll see that I just call it a B. So I've just tried to, rather than having to have a UK and a US terms for every part, I've kind of come up with some slightly different notation, which has condensed the abbreviations, so that means that hopefully it's easier to see the pattern, and it also means that they're not specific to UK or US terms. Obviously I'm using UK terms for this video. So what you'll see in the written pattern there is a B, so it's B for back loop only. Okay, so every time you see a B, you know that means in that stitch you're going to be working a double crochet into the back loop only. Okay, so B for back loop, double crochet. And when you see an F, which we haven't got yet, that will be a front loop treble, which I will show you in a couple of rows time when we get there. Okay, so just carry along on this row, working a double crochet into the back loop there of every stitch until you get to that end chain, and I'll just meet you there. Okay, so I've now just worked along, doing my back loop double crochets all the way along, and I've just got up to this final chain here. So it's going to be, every row is going to end the same. When you get to that last two, do a chain, miss that chain from the previous row, and end with a double crochet through both loops in that final stitch, and then fasten off like so. So finished with that one for a row. So what you're now going to do is basically exactly the same as we've just done for row 1, except we're going to be using our contrast colour. So for me that's the pistachio. Right, so just going to start again with slip knot on our hook, or however you put that knot on, like so, and then it's a case of double crochet under both loops in that first stitch, one chain, miss that chain, and then we're just going to do another row of back loop double crochets. Okay, so B in the written pattern. Okay, so you just do that, and then remember at the end you're going to finish off with one chain, miss the chain from the previous row, and then your standard double crochet through both loops at the end. And when you've done all that, I will see you to actually get started on the pattern for row 3. Okay, so there we go, that's our nice straightforward first couple of rows now done. So what we're now going to start to do is start to use some of these front loops that we've left there to create our pattern. It's a nice easy row to start with. So row 3, again as always, we're going to start with that slip knot on our hook and a double crochet, standing double crochet under both loops at the end, one chain, and skip that chain. So all we're going to be doing now is start with, this was now, I've always used an F to signify on my charts, to signify where you're going to be doing a front loop treble 2 rows below. So I've now actually put that in with my universal terms. That is now in the abbreviations for that stitch. So when you see an F in the written instructions, you'll know that you've got to work into a front loop, but you're not, so we're missing this first chain, you're not working into the front loop of the where you normally would the row you've just worked, you're going to be working into the one below that. Okay, into there, and usually it will be the same color as the color you're now using. That's another thing I should have mentioned, that we're swapping colors every row. Okay, so to know which color you're supposed to use, you can either look at the key on the chart and see basically which color the chart row starts and ends with, or you will find in the written instructions, the first 2 digits there, so it'll either be C1, C2, whichever. Oh, and also about colors, you'll also notice if you look at the written instructions that there's basically 2 colors at the start. So there'll be a C number and an X number, and the X will relate to, there's like the sort of original, the main 3 color schemes use 5 different colors to create the pattern, but I've condensed that to just 3 colors for my nocturnal colorway, so they are indicated with the X because you do them slightly differently to give the effect of a night vision camera. So you'll want either C1 for this row or X1. Okay, so anyway, I've now started there with my edge stitch and the chain, so we're going to go straight away into our front loop treble 2 down. So for a treble, as you know, yarn over, and then make sure you miss this chain, and you're going to be working into this loop here. Okay, so we're going to do our treble into there. Now make sure you don't pull this too tight, like so. So there we are, there is our treble. And now what we need to do is we're now just going to do, nice and easy, 15 back loop double crochet. So what we need to do, make sure we miss this stitch behind this first treble we've just done. So if you look behind, you can see this is actually that chain that we're going to need for the border. This is the stitch we've just worked our treble into, so we've got to make sure we miss that. And now we're just going to be working back loop double crochet into there. So every time you see a B in the written instructions, that's a back loop double crochet into the previous row. And when you see an F, that's a front loop treble into the row below. Okay, so that's how, and that is basically the whole technique for overlay mosaic crochet. So you're always using 1 color per row, and you're either going to be working a back loop double crochet into the row you've just done, or you're going to use the front loops of the row below that to create the pattern. Okay, so I've got 3, so we now need 15 back loop double crochet. So I've got 5, 6, 14, 15. And what you want to do, because it's very easy to miscount and sort of hypnotize yourself, is just double check that you have actually got 15 stitches there since your last treble. So we'll just double check that together. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 stitches. Brilliant. So now it's time, and that's basically what we're repeating. 15 stitches. Well, actually, we'll repeat with the next one. We've got 15 back loop double crochets, and we've now got to just finish our first repeat with a front loop treble. So what you should be able to see, to make sure you get it into the right place, you hold your work nice and flat, you can see, hopefully, that we would normally be working into this stitch here. So you just want to drop it right down there into the one below. So if you hold it out nice and flat, it's usually easy to see. Okay, so we're going to be working into that stitch there. So it's a treble, so yarn over, insert in there, and make a stitch. Okay, so that is our repeat. 15 back loop double crochets, 1 front loop treble. And if you are confused about which loop to work into, you can just double check that you've got the right number of front loops unused there. So we had 15 back loop double crochets there, we should have 15 unused front loops. So that stitch goes into that one. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. So we know it's all nice and straight. Okay, so we'll just do that one more together. So again, make sure you miss, if you can see, this stitch behind the treble, and then it's 15 back loop double crochets. $14, $15. And again, I know it seems a bit irritating, but it's really worth, when you're setting up a pattern, double checking that you've got the right number of stitches each time. It's much better to take that time to double check now than to find, especially if you're doing like the large blanket, you get to the end and you've got the wrong number of stitches left because you've gone wrong somewhere. So just double check. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 back loop double crochets. Perfect. And then remember, it's 1 front loop treble. So what you want to do, if you're finding it difficult to get into these front loops, inserting your hook like that, what you can do, and if you are a pencil hold person, you can see I'm more a knife hold. If you're a pencil hold person, you might find it easier to actually insert, so you can see where you've got to go, insert your hook like so underneath. Up to you, but just get into that front loop and create your treble there. Okay, so just carry on along, and what you should find, if you've done it, if you've got all your stitches correct, you will find that when you've done your last treble, you will just have the chain and that final double crochet edge stitch to do. So yeah, I will see you when you get to the end of the row. Okay, so I've just now got to the end of my row, so I've done my last 15 double crochets. We just got to remember, as you can see, I've now got just the one stitch left before my end chain, and that's where we're going to do our last front loop treble. So there we go, in there like so, one chain, miss the chain, and then a standard double crochet under both loops at the end, and fasten off. Right, just pull that tight. Okay, so for row 4, we're back to using pistachio or colour 2 again. So as always, start with a slip knot on your hook. Then we've got an edge stitch, which is the double crochet under both loops, one chain, miss that chain. Now what you'll find, if you know, look here, you'll see we've got our first stitch of the pattern there is actually a treble. So the only thing we can work into that is a back loop double crochet, because we haven't got a front loop visible. Okay, so you'll know that'll be a back loop double crochet. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we now start with another one. So the pattern repeat starts with another back loop double crochet in there. Okay, and now we have got 2 front loop trebles. So again, make sure you miss this front loop there, that's below there, and you start with your new front loop treble under there. Okay, so there, so we want 2 of them in a row. Okay, if you find these loops are pulling up, I mean that's okay, but if you do find they're pulling up, but what you need to try and remember to do is 2 things really. One is to not pull these stitches too tight, because it can be, and you can actually hold the loop down with your thumb if that helps. But also the important thing is to make sure you keep the loops of your stitches, so these top loops, nice and even and not too loose. If they are too loose, then that gives you, there's like the extra yarn which will then pull up when you do your treble. So if you're finding that these are pulling up and you've got quite big loops on the top of your stitches, in that first part of your stitch, just make sure you just gently pull that there to tension it a bit more. Okay, so I've got the 2 front loop trebles there. So we're now going to do 4 back loop double crochets. So again, making sure that we miss the 1, 2 stitches behind those 2 trebles, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 back loop double crochets. Okay, so now we've got 1 front loop treble to go again, make sure it's underneath where you would normally work. 1 front loop treble, then 4 back loop double crochets again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we've got 2 front loop trebles, and we're going to end our repeat with 2 back loop double crochet. So that last stitch is going to be into that treble from the row before. Okay, so that is our repeat. We're starting with the 1 back loop double crochet, we're ending with 2, so we'll then end up with 3 in a row. Okay, so we'll do the next repeat together. So we start again with 1 back loop double crochet, then we have got 2 front loop trebles, 2, then 4 back loop double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 front loop treble, 4 back loop double crochets. So what we're doing basically, we've got, you see this front loop treble was effectively the center of our repeat. So we're now going to repeat, we're going to mirror what we did here. So we had the 4 back loop double crochets there, we've got 4 there, so then we had before that 2 front loop trebles, so that's what we're going to do there. So that is how each repeat works. 1, needed some more yarn, 2, and then we end the repeat with 2 back loop double crochets. Okay, so just repeat that along and say when you get to that last 2 there, remember you end it the row with 1 chain, miss the chain, and then at the end, or miss the chain from the previous row, and then you finish with a double crochet into both loops. Okay, so here we are, this is the end of row 4, so we ended with the last 2 back loop double crochets of the repeat, then the chain, and double crochet into both loops at the end. Right, so time for row 5. So I'm switching obviously back to C1 again, slip knot, standing double crochet, oh hold on, tension that properly, standing double crochet, 1 chain, miss the chain. I'm going to start straight away with a front loop treble into the basically into the treble from 2 rows below. So there we go. So that is now before our main repeat starts. So we're going to start the main repeat with 3 back loop double crochets. So don't miss this one here. Yeah, you might do just almost, we've got the start there with 1, 2, 3 back loop double crochets, and then we're basically now going to fill in these 4 front loops there. We're now going to work a front loop treble into each of those, so 4 front loop trebles. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as I said, when you see a treble on the previous row, you know you're going to have to work a back loop double crochet into that. If you're reading the instructions and you come up to, and it says you're supposed to be working a treble here, it's most likely that you miscounted somewhere. So okay, so we've got 4 front loop trebles, 1 back loop double crochet, another 4 front loop trebles. So this is actually creating the sort of bottom bit of our ladybirds. Whoop. 3, 4, and then to finish the repeat we have another 3 back loop double crochets, 2, 3, and we finish with that treble there. So the treble at the end of the repeat what goes into the treble that we did on row 3. Okay, so that is what we're repeating across. If you are struggling to sort of see where the repeats end, then by all means you can just pop a little marker there into that last stitch there, and that'll just help you to see where you're going with it. Okay, so we start the repeat again with another 3 back loop double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and we've got 4 front loop trebles, 4 back loop double crochet, 4 front loop trebles, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we complete the repeat with 3 back loop double crochets and 1 front loop treble. Okay, so you just carry on, repeat that across, and I will see you for row 6. Okay, so I've just now started row 6 with the standing double crochet chain and the 1 back loop double crochet that comes before the main repeat starts. So we're now ready to start our first repeat. So that starts with 2 front loop trebles. So that first one, just tuck in there, 1, 2, and then it's a nice straightforward repeat. We've now got 11 back loop double crochet, so 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we've got 2 front loop trebles and the repeat ends with 1 back loop double crochet there. And there we go. So that is our repeat. Okay, so I've now just started row 7 with my standing double crochet, the chain, and the 1 back loop double crochet before the main repeat starts. So now I'm going to start the repeat with another 2 back loop double crochets, and then we've got if you're looking at the written instructions, you'll see you've now got some square brackets. So every time you see that in the pattern, whatever's inside those square brackets will be repeated however many times it says immediately after them. So what we've got in the square brackets here is 2 front loop trebles, 1, 2, and then 1 back loop double crochet. Okay, so that's our simple little repeat. We're going to now do that 3 times. So that's 1. Then we've got 2 front loop trebles, 1 back loop double. So that's 2. Then 2 front loop trebles, 1 back loop double. So that's all 3 times we've done that. And now we've got another 2 front loop trebles to sort of fill in the body of our ladybird there. And then the repeat ends with 3 back loop double crochets. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So now we're going to start again with 2 more back loop double crochets. So that gives you 5 in a row there, just over that little cluster. Then we've got 2 front loop trebles, 1, 2, and 1 back. She's now got to do a total of 3 times. Okay, so I've now started row 8 with our edge stitch, the chain, and the back loop double crochet before the main repeat starts. So now what we're going to do here, we've got another square brackets, so we know we've got to repeat what's in the square brackets. So that is 1 front loop treble, and then 6 back loop double crochets. So that's what's in the brackets. So if you look after that, we've got to do that twice. 4, 5, 6. So now we've got 1 front loop treble, 2 rows down, and 6 back loop double crochets. So that is our little repeat in the square brackets. So 4, 5, 6. So once we've done that twice like we have now, we've got 1 front loop treble and 1 back loop double crochet. So that there is our repeat. Okay, so I've now just started row 9, obviously with the usual edge stitch, chain, and that back loop double crochet before the main repeat starts. So we're now going to start the main repeat with another back loop double crochet. Then we've got 1 front loop treble there. We've now got another square bracket, so we've got to repeat 1 back loop double crochet and 4 front loop trebles. 3, 4, so we've got to do that twice. 1 back, 4 front, 3, 4. Then we've got 1 back loop double crochet, 1 front loop treble, and we end the repeat with 2 back loop double crochets. Okay, so now here we are at the start of row 10. This is going to be actually very similar to what we did on row 8, apart from the fact that instead of having between the ladybirds, instead of having treble, back loop double crochet, front loop treble, we're going to have the 3 front loop trebles in between. So I've now just started it, and again, as you see, I've actually started there with 1 treble. So now the repeat starts with another treble 2 rows down, and then we've got in the square brackets we've got 6, we had 1 front loop treble, 6 back loop double crochets. Okay, 4, 5, 6, and as for row 8 we've got to do that twice. So 1 front loop treble, 2 rows down, 6 back loop double crochets. Whoops, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when we end our repeat with 2 front loop trebles. Okay, so we're ready to start again with another treble in the front there. So that's our repeat. So carry on and do that to the end, and I will see you shortly for row 11. Okay, so here we are ready to go with row 11. So as always I've started with a little bit before the repeat starts, and we're now going to start the repeat with a back loop double crochet. And now we've got 3 front loop trebles, Ooh, try actually picking up the loop. So yeah, 1, 2, 3. We've got some square brackets again, so we are going to have 1 back loop double crochet, 2 front loop trebles. We're going to do that twice. 1 and 1, 2, then 1 back loop double crochet and 3 front loop trebles. 2, 3, and then we end the repeat with 2 back loop double crochets. So there we go. So there's that. So just carry on, as I said, to the end as usual, remembering to do your chain and the edge stitch, which goes through both loops at the end. And you can do row 12 as well, because that is exactly the same as we just did on row 10. So I will see you ready to start row 13. Okay, so our ladybirds are really starting to take shape now, and I've just started row 13 as always with the edge stitch, the chain, and then that first little back loop double crochet before the repeat starts. So now we're going to start our repeat with another back loop double crochet and then 1 front loop treble. Now we've got the square brackets again, so we know we're going to have to repeat what's in them, and that is 1 back loop double crochet, 4 front loop trebles, and we've got to do that twice. 2, 3, 4, so that's once, and then we've got 1 back loop double crochet, 4 front loop trebles, 2 rows down. 2, 3, 4, 1 back loop double crochet, 1 front loop treble, and then 2 back loop double crochets. So that is how we end our repeat. So we'll then start the next one with another back loop double crochet, and then that will just look like that. So yeah, just carry on like so till you get to the end and do your chain and edge stitch at the end. And then row 14 is very much, I think it's exactly the same as row 8, so I won't bother to take you through that. So I'll see you next time for row 15. Okay, so row 15 now. So I've just started it as usual with the edge stitch, chain, and the little back loop double crochet before the main repeat starts. So we're now ready to start the repeat. So for this one, we've now got actually 2 more back loop double crochets. Then we've got in the square brackets again 2 front loop trebles and 1 back loop double crochet, and we're going to do that 3 times. So that was 1, 2 trebles, 1 double, that's 2, 1, 2 front loop trebles, 1 back loop double. So that's off 3 times, and then we've got 2 more front loop trebles, and then we end the repeat with 3 back loop doubles. There we are. So you'll start the next repeat with 2 more back loop double crochet, so that'll give you a little run of 5 in a row there. Okay, so we're getting there now. We're now up to row 17, which is where we're sort of doing the little heads, little ladybird heads. So this time we're actually starting, if you have a little look here, we've got the edge stitch, the chain, and then that first stitch before the main repeat is actually a front loop treble. So just started with that there now, and now we'll carry on. It's another nice little simple repeat really. So we've just got 4 back loop double crochets, 3, 4, oops, fell off me desk. Then we've got 7 front loop trebles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 4 back loop double crochets, 2, 3, 4, and then we end that repeat with 1 front loop treble there. Okay. Right, so we're almost done now with part 1, well, with the ladybirds anyway. So we've added the head on row 17, and on row 19 we're just going to add a couple of little antennae. So as always, I've started with the edge stitch, chain, and the stitch before the main repeat, which in this case is a treble. And so now we can actually get started on the repeat. So that is nice and easy again. So we start, make sure you don't miss this stitch. So we start there with 6 back loop double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we've got 1 front loop treble, and then back loop double crochet there, which should be right above this sort of little gap between the wings there. Then we'll have another front loop treble, and then another 6 back loop double crochets, 3, oops, 4, 5, 6, and the repeat ends with a treble there. Okay. So now if you're making the small blanket, you've basically finished the ladybirds now, and you can go straight to the little spacer panel that goes between each of the parts. If you're making the large blanket though, because we want to make that longer, we're going to do another whole band of the ladybirds. So to do that, you need to basically repeat what we've done there from row 4. So what I will just do on this one, I'll just show you how that's going to sort of work with row 4, how that'll, which of the stitches and things it'll cover up, so you'll know what you're looking for. Okay, so if you go back to row 4, I'll just get that started as we usually do. Ooh. Edge stitch, chain. Right, so then we started with 1 back loop double crochet before the main repeat, and then the repeat was 1 back loop double crochet, 2 front loop trebles, 1, 2, then we had 4 back loop double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 treble, then 4 back loop double crochets, Then we've got the 2 front loop trebles, and I'll repeat ended with the 2 double crochets there. So that, whoops, 2. So that'll just show you if you're making the large one, your next row is going to look like this. You can see where we've got these 4 back loop double crochets, there is where we're then going to fill in on the next row with these. Okay, so that's for the large blanket. So you just go and repeat, like I said, from row 4 to 21 for the large blanket, or if you're doing the small one like I am, we don't actually need those stitches. I'm just going to leave it like so. And then whichever size you're doing, there is another little chart and written instructions for just this little spacer panel. And basically, I mean, they're interchangeable. If you prefer the slightly smaller one on your large blanket, feel free to do it. And if you like the slightly wider one for your small blanket, again, feel free to do that. May just have a slight impact on the amount of yarn for your small blanket. Okay, so whichever size blanket or spacer panel you're doing, you need to start with 2 rows of back loop double crochets. So one in your C5 and then another one in C3. So that'll be the same whichever one you're doing. And obviously, of course, we start, as with all the other rows, we're going to start with a standing double crochet in the chain, and then I say there'll be the back loop double crochets up until the last 2 stitches where it's a chain and a standard double crochet. So just on the 2 rows of that, and I say the spacer panel is really straightforward, and that means that it's going to give you a nice easy border to do as well, because they're the same design basically. Right, so it is just a case of obviously edge stitch, chain, and then all we're going to do on row 3 of the spacer panel is 1 front loop treble and 1 back loop double crochet, and basically repeat that all the way along like so. Obviously you'll end with a front loop treble just before you get to your chain and your edge stitch. Okay, so this is exactly the same for both spacers. So carry on and do that, and then I'll come back and just explain what you do if you're making the large one, because this will basically be the last row of part 1 if you're making the small blanket with the small blanket spacer. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute to show you what to do with the large one. Okay, so I thought I would just show you what the back looks like as well, because I know if you haven't done mosaic crochet before, you might not know what to expect on the back. So here we are. So you can see, although on the front we've got all the lovely ladybirds, on the back you basically get stripes, and there's this kind of sort of shadow of the design on the other side. And what you will find, some people don't like them, I don't have a problem with it, but you will just see where we had like 7 stitches when we did 7 trebles on the front, because we haven't worked into this row of 7 back loop double crochets there, that does create a little sort of flap. Now I don't have a problem with that. I know some people find them annoying. There are various ways that you can kind of pick up like the back loop of that when you make your trebles on the front. I personally don't like to do that because I think it affects the way the stitches look on the front. It will make it it will make the stitches a little shorter and sort of puffier. Some people will just pick up like every few stitches, and that will then create little dimples. So personally, I think the most important thing is the front, and I actually think that looks quite attractive anyway. But anyway, that's just to let you know. Oops, sorry, not the camera there. It's just let you know what to expect on the back. Okay, so as I said, this is now how the spacer panel will be finished for the small blanket. If you're making the larger one, so you'll have had your 2 rows of ladybirds. We're just going to be making this a little bit wider. So again, it's really straightforward. I'll just show you how to do that. So we're going to pick up our C3 again. Oops. And start as we do on every single row with a, get that end out of the way, with a standing double crochet and a chain. And now basically wherever you've got a treble on the previous row, you're going to do back loop double crochet. You don't actually have a choice, that's the only stitch you can do. And then in between we're going to now work our treble into that stitch there. So it's that simple. So you'll just go all the way along, working one back loop double crochet and one front loop treble. I'll do a few more of those, and then got caught up. Okay, so that just kind of gives you the idea. So you'll have that there, and then there's one more row you're going to do if you're doing the larger one. So again, we'll pick up our C5 colour, edge stitch, chain, and we're now effectively going to do what we did on row 3. Same thing. So front loop treble, back loop double crochet, and alternate that. It's really straightforward. All the way along you've got a front loop treble 2 rows down, and then a back loop double crochet. Okay, so that will basically be what your spacer panel will look like if you're doing the larger blanket. Right, I hope you enjoyed part 1, and next time we are going to be making some snails and hedgehogs, so I'll look forward to seeing you for that.